this week's lecture, Chapter 3, Information Systems, Organizations, and Strategy. Our objectives this week is to identify and describe important features of organizations that managers need to know about in order to build and use information systems successfully. Demonstrate how Porter's competitive forces models helps companies develop competitive strategies using information systems. We want to explain how the value chain and value web models help businesses identify opportunities for strategic information systems. We want to demonstrate how information systems help businesses use synergies, core competencies, and network-based strategies to achieve competitive advantage. And finally, we want to assess the challenges posed by strategic information systems and management solutions. Change their business strategies over time, or at least fine-tune them. This vignette illustrates how businesses who were once the most successful in their industry must continually change their core strategy in response to changes brought about by the internal and external environment. So Chapter 3 describes how organizations and information systems work together, or sometimes against each other. The idea, of course, is to keep them in sync, but that's not always possible. We'll look at the nature of organizations and how they relate to information systems. So what is an organization? An organization is very similar to information systems that we described in Chapter 1. Remember Figure 1.4 from the previous chapter? Compare it to Figure 3.2 of this chapter. These two figures may have many things in common. Both information systems and organizations require inputs and some sort of processing. Both have outputs and both depend on feedback for successful completion of the loop. Information systems use data as their main ingredient and organizations rely on people. However, the similarities are remarkable. Both are a structured method of turning raw products, which can be data and people, into useful entities, otherwise, or other words, information and producers. Think of some of the organizations you've been involved in. Didn't each of them have a structure, even if it wasn't readily apparent? Perhaps the organization seemed a bit chaotic, or didn't seem to have any real purpose. Maybe that was due to poor input, broken down processing, or unclear output. It could be very well that feedback was ignored or missing altogether. Many times organizations are turned upside down when the new information systems are brought in. It's not because the system is all wrong for the business. Usually it's because the system throws the delicate balance of rights, privileges, obligations, responsibilities, and feelings out of kilter. For instance, the marketing department manager used to see that all monthly reports about new customers before any of her employees did. She had a chance to digest the information and formulate responses to questions before disseminating the data to anyone else. After a new information system was integrated throughout the company, all the data regarding new and old customers is now available immediately to everyone in the organization. Now, the marketing department manager gets bombarded with questions and comments before she's even seen the numbers. The class you're enrolled in is an organization of sorts, isn't it? Think about it. How many of the following characteristics fits this class? How many fit any organization you're in? Clear division of labor, hierarchy of authority, absent rules and procedures, impartial judgments, technical qualifications for positions, maximum organizational efficiency. These characteristics describe organizations that are called bureaucracies, which most of us think as slow, cumbersome, or unprogressive. That isn't necessarily so. Many organizations have bureaucratic characteristics and operate very well. Successful organizations develop efficient routines for producing goods and services. Successful organizations are able to reduce costs and win with a competitive advantage over others because these routines are built into business processes. However, some standard operating procedures, also known as SOPs, politics, and culture are so ingrained in an organization that they actually hinder the success of the group because they do not allow people to change their routines and processes as they should. The blue spheres in this diagram are individual routines, which together constitute a business process. A firm can be seen as a collection of these processes. Organizational politics. Each person in an organization ultimately has his own goals. These goals may be aligned very well with organizational goals, but perhaps they aren't. The bottom line is each person comes into an organization with a different concern and perspective. When these viewpoints clash with others, the end result is organizational politics, and politics can essentially kill organizational change necessary for incorporating new information systems. Can you describe examples where an organization politics might hamper a firm's ability to succeed? Can you describe examples where organizational politics might hamper a firm's ability to succeed? Or can you provide examples where effectively managed organizational politics help a company to undergo a smoother transition or make more intelligent decisions? Just as every society reflects cultural values like language, dress, and food, so too does every organization have its own culture. Some companies like Google are very laid back. The company allows employees to bring their dogs to work, ride skateboards in the hallways, and other companies like IBM require employees to adhere to a strict dress code and leave the skateboards at home. Yet both companies are very successful in their own right. However, when each company embarks on organizational change, the culture is very much a player in what they can and cannot do. Organizations differ because their ultimate goals differ. Some organizations are small by nature or small by design. Using the same thought process as you did for recognizing the different structures and organizations around you, think about the unique differences in those organizations. Why are they different? Size, goals, environmental factors that restrict their growth. For instance, contrast a real estate company with an insurance company. The real estate company is constantly looking for new customers, buyers and sellers. The new products, houses and commercial properties, to sell. It may choose to stay small or to go with a nationwide conglomerate. The environmental factors that are likely to influence it are the state of the national economy or the culture of the local economy. Many external factors are out of its control. The employees of the company must respond quickly to potential sales, or they simply won't make any money. This type of organization must be creative in the way it generates business and in the type of systems it uses. On the other hand, the insurance company has relatively stable customers. People sign up with their insurer to pay their premiums on a regular basis. Although customers may come and go, the turnover is fairly small. Because most state governments require people to carry insurance, the agent has a stable stream of income for premiums. Although the parent company may suffer large losses from sudden influx of customer claims, the small agency is not as heavily influenced by environmental factors. This organization doesn't have to devise ways of ingeniously using or generating data, and its systems needs are mundane. Both of these businesses are small and entrepreneurial, but they must respond to their employees' customers and potential customers in very different ways. Each of them has different business processes that must be used to meet goals of staying in business. Looking at disruptive technologies. Remember typewriters? If you're under the age of 30, you may not ever have even seen one. They are ubiquitous in the business world 40 years ago. How many of you seen one lately? Did they fade away because they weren't a good idea when they were first invented? They weren't a good product? They didn't serve a need? As we all know, the answers to all those questions is a resounding no. They were a great invention, a great product, and served a real need. But they were supplemented by a disruptive technology called computers. There are many examples of how new technologies disrupt old ones. Look at Table 3.1 in the text. How many of the winners and losers do you remember? Companies must continually adapt and change or go out of business. It's almost that simple. Organizational structures. The point is that every group of people is an organization. The interesting question you could ask yourself would be, how would the work look and function without some kind of organization? Table 3.2 of the text shows some common organizational structures Think about your own experiences in your workplace or your daily life and try to list some organizations that fit into each of the categories. They're all around you and affect you in so many ways. Remember, just as organizations affect you in many different ways, so too do you affect the organizations. Would you consider the same organizational structure for a softball team as you would for a theater production group? Although there would be some similarities, the two groups would probably have some major differences. An automobile dealership would have some similarities to a department store. Both of them sell products, and yet they would have major structural differences. Organizations that enter into collaborative partnerships tend to seek out companies with similar structures. It's much easier for the employees to work together if they aren't required to learn a whole different work structure on top of learning new tasks. The bottom line, organizations and information systems influence each other. Each organization shares common characteristics that an information system can enhance. On the other hand, each organization has unique characteristics that should be taken into account when incorporating technology. The organization should determine how the technology is incorporated and not let the information system totally dictate the organizational structure. Change is the only constant in the relationship between information systems and organizations. As technology evolves and changes, its introduction into organizations requires changes in the firm's infrastructure and the services it can provide to its employees, customers, and suppliers. Years ago, information systems consisted of a huge mainframe computer with a few terminals connected to it. You had to schedule a specific time to use the computer, if your company even had one at all. All data were kept on one machine, and in some respects the data was available to whoever could access them. When personal computers were introduced into the early 1980s, it became the norm for most people to have individual computing islands on their desks. The computers were not even connected to each other, and if you wanted to connect or exchange data or information, you had to somehow get the data from your desk to the other person's desk. This wasn't very easy. Now it seems we've come full circle in some ways. We've combined the storage and data processing on a central machine with personal computing available on stripped-down desktops. The data are available to anyone who can use them or has authorized access through the network, with links literally all over the world. The text discusses two major types of theories about how information systems affect the organizations. One, economic theories, and two, behavioral theories. The economic impacts. It's sometimes cheaper to hire a computer than it is to hire a person. We may not like the idea that machines can replace human beings, but when you think about it, they have been doing this for thousands of years. To better illustrate this concept, let's take a look at how a company can find it cheaper to use an information system to develop and disseminate a human resources policy for employee dress codes. The HR assistant may write the first draft of the policy and give it to an HR director on paper. The director will review it and make changes. The assistant then must incorporate the changes and reprint the document. Wait, if there is an information system, the assistant can submit the draft to the director electronically, and the director can then make changes to the electronic version of the file and return it to the assistant. Already we've saved part of a tree. Of course, others in the organization must review the new dress code policy. The proposed policy can be printed in 15 copies. A person can manually send the copies out, track who they went to and when, and then track all the changes made to the proposal. Or the proposed policy can be sent electronically to reviewers who will electronically collaborate on necessary changes. Each of the reviewers can see it in real time, what the others think and the changes they would like to make. We've saved another part of a tree in reduced paper use, but we have also saved a lot of time and human effort. Once the policy is set, it has to be resent to each employee. We could do that through old method of printing hundreds of copies, or we could send the policy to each person electronically, maybe through email. Everyone would have a personal copy stored on the computer. There, is no need to print it out on the paper because it will be stored electronically and can be referenced whenever it is convenient. As employees acknowledge receipt of the policy via the email, HR department knows they received it. So what about the people who do not have their own personal computers? You could post the new policy to the company intranet, which would be available to all employees whenever they find it convenient. Again, time and resources are cut drastically through the use of an information system. If the policy needs to be revised, the same process can be used to make and send out messages. The revised policy can be posted on the intranet for all to see. This is just one example of how technology is helping organizations reduce their costs of doing business. The transaction cost theory supports the idea that through technology, businesses can reduce their costs of processing transactions with the same emphasis and zeal that they try to reduce their production costs. We mentioned earlier that many of the job cuts taking place in businesses are now affecting white-collar managerial positions. That follows the agency theory of economic impact brought on by information systems. Now, one manager can oversee 10 employees, otherwise known as agents, rather than 4 employees because information is cheaper and easier to disseminate. Rather than 5 layers of management in an organization, information technology allows companies to flatten the layers to 3, maybe even 2. Here's how. IT pushes decision-making rights lower in the organization because lower-level employees receive the information they need to make decisions without supervision. Managers now receive so much more accurate information on time, they become much faster at making decisions, so fewer managers are required. Management costs decline as a percentage of revenues, and the hierarchy becomes much more efficient. Post-industrial organizations. The post-industrial theories also support the notion that IT should flatten hierarchies. Here's why. Professional workers tend to be self-managing, and decision-making should become more decentralized as knowledge and information become widespread throughout the firm. IT may encourage task force networked organizations in which groups of professionals come together, face-to-face or electronically, for short periods of time to accomplish a specific task. Once the task is accomplished, the individuals join other task force. Technology makes virtual organizations more feasible, cheaper, and easier to set up and tear down than before. If you had a small group of people from each functional area of the company collaborating on a new production method, you can bring them together, decide on the new methodology, and then return them to their regularly assigned units. Let's say your company decides to develop a new method of shipping hammers. You would need to draw people from the production department and shipping department, the packaging department, and the accounting department to help develop the new procedures. Without an information system, you would need to have a clerical worker available to record and send out all the information to everyone before and after the meetings. You would have to set up a time and place for team members to meet. Scheduling everyone's time is often a nightmare. Because of the political nature of organizations and people, which we've previously discussed, most of those assigned to this team would probably have to be middle managers. If your company had the proper information systems, much of the hassle and expense of this scenario could be eliminated. By using technology, most of the collaboration and communication throughout the organization, top to bottom, side to side, could be accomplished quicker and cheaper. One of the biggest benefits to this method would be the fact that the decision-making process of this committee can be pushed to lower levels and management can check progress electronically. Perhaps the managers wouldn't be as concerned about delegating responsibility because they can keep an eye on the community throughout the process and monitor its progress easier. Everyone in the entire organization can have access to the work of the committee. What about those people not physically located in the same place? No problem. Electronically, they have the same access to the process as everyone else. Understanding organizational resistance to change. Information systems are closely intertwined with an organization's structure, culture, and business process. New systems disrupt established patterns of work and power relationships, so there's often considerable resistance to them, and when they are introduced. The complex relationship between information systems, organizational performance, and decision-making must be carefully managed. Technology doesn't automatically transform organizations. There is no magic wand that companies can wave that will solve all their problems just because they installed the latest information system. People using technology efficiently and effectively, however, can transform organizations. Technology can enhance communications up and down the organization and from one department to another, and on the same managerial level. As our dress code policy example shows, communications are much faster and better using technology. The lines of communication are shorter, clearer, and more concise. The behavioral theory of the integration of information systems in an organization says that the political structure of an organization changes through access to information. The common status symbol in an organization used to be the corner office. Now, the political status symbol is how much information a person has access to. The example used earlier of posting personnel policies to the company intranet is just one small example of how businesses are using network technology to reduce costs and enhance their business processes. Business-to-business commerce is growing at a tremendous pace because of the cost savings the internet allows. The internet provides an open platform technology that allows transaction processing between businesses at much cheaper costs and provides an easy-to-use interface. The innovative ways organizations are using the intranet, internet, and extranets to improve their business processes and lower costs is simply fascinating. Even government bureaucracies are getting into the act. The U.S. Postal Office is facing a severe threat to its core business. More and more businesses and individuals are turning to email and to web to correspond with each other. And as email continues to grow as a substitute for snail mail, the post office must find innovative ways of using the internet to gain new business. It's doing so by selling postage on the internet, and it now offers electronic bill pay services. Companies can send bills to their customers electronically, and individuals and businesses can pay all their bills over the new internet-based service. The integration of an information system into the organization naturally causes change for the organization. Sounds simple enough. What isn't so simple to manage is the very fact that many people do not readily accept change, no matter how much technology you employ. It is still the organization's people who will make or break it. Remember the triangle introduced in Chapter 1 when we discussed hardware, software, and PERSware? It's back. Change can be so traumatic to some organizations that they find it easier to keep doing business the same old way for as long as they can get away with it. That's why some organizations seem to be stuck doing business the way they did in 1969. The bottom line, for some job, it's better to employ technology than to employ a person. Technology can reduce costs and increase the amount of information people have access to. The changes brought about by the introduction of new technology and new methods must be managed carefully. No successful manager can lose sight of the effect change will have on the people of the organization. Companies need to tailor their information systems to the needs of the organization instead of letting the wonders of technology drive the organization. Google, Amazon, eBay, the giants of the internet, they're successful and make loads of money. They could easily rest on their laurels, kick back, and relax. If they are so successful, why do they keep working so hard to continually introduce new products and services and improve the old ones? Because someone, somewhere, is trying to take their place and become the new giant. These companies must constantly work to keep their competitive advantage, and they are using information systems to do so. Porter's competitive forces model contends that much of the success or failure of a business depends on its ability to respond to external environment. Figure 310 shows 5 external forces that every business must contend with at one time or another. It is important to understand from this model that a firm's success is not predicated on how well it does internally. It must also pay attention to traditional competitors always nipping at your heels with new products and services, trying to steal your customers. New market entrants, not constrained by traditional ways of producing goods and services, they can easily jump into your markets and lure customers away with cheaper or better products and services. Substitute products and services. Customers may be willing to try to substitute products and services if they decide your price is too high or the quality of your product and services is too low. Customers. Fickle to say the least, they are now armed with new information resources that make it easier for them to jump to your competitors, new market entrants, or substitute products. Suppliers. The number of suppliers used may determine how easy or difficult your business will have in controlling your supply chain. Too few suppliers and you can lose a lot of control. Many companies have found the effective and efficient information systems allow them to deal with external forces in one of four ways: low-cost leadership, product differentiation, focus on market niche, and strengthen customer and supplier intimacy. Low-cost leadership. By using information systems to lower your operational costs, you can lower your prices. That will make it difficult for traditional competitors and new market entrants to match your prices. This strategy works best with commodities such as computers or with household products, retailers like Walmart. Efficient customer response system provides companies and its suppliers with an integrated view of customers. These systems provide instantaneous information to the company and its suppliers. Every staff member can have access to the information in the system to help reduce costs and prices well below that of the competition. Processes such as supply replenishment are automated between companies and suppliers. When products reach a certain reorder point, the system automatically sends a message to the supplier who can quickly send out new stock. These systems help companies achieve low-cost leadership in the industry. Product differentiation. A very effective use of strategic information systems is to create products or services that are so different that they create barriers for the competition. Product differentiation is at the heart of Apple Computer's success. Sure, it makes computers, but the company gets away with charging a premium price because of its differentiates its products from all others. Competitors like Hewlett-Packard and IBM have tried to duplicate Apple's strategic business model but have not been quite as successful. Apple uses product differentiation to help market its iPad and online music system to a broad swath of population and create barriers to its competitors are having difficulty overcoming. People like to feel that they are unique individuals with their own needs and desires. One of the best strategies for dealing with competitors is to offer customers exactly what they want, when they want it, and how they want it. The Internet provides a new outlet for mass customization by allowing customers to order one-of-a-kind products. For instance, by visiting the Ping Golf Club website, an individual can step through a series of pages that will help design golf clubs to fit her. The customer answers questions on the site about her height, arm length, hand size, and level of play. The site then advises her on the exact type of club that best fits her needs and provides all the information necessary to order the clubs. Once ordered, Ping can produce the product in a matter of hours and uses a shipping partner to deliver the clubs in less than 5 days. The individual feels special and Ping has gained a new customer. Focusing on the market niche. If an organization is a fiercely competitive market, it can choose to focus on a very narrow segment of the market rather than a broad general audience. A firm can gather very specific information about its customers using data mining techniques. Then it creates a focused differentiation business strategy to market directly to those customers. Being able to address the needs and wants of the very small market segment is why companies are so intent on gathering customer information from a variety of sources. Apple Computer uses focused differentiation to help sell its computers to a narrow target market of graphic designers and educators rather than the general population of computer users. Strengthen customer and supplier intimacy. Supply chain management, also known as SCM, systems increase supplier intimacy, while customer relationship management systems increase customer intimacy. SCM systems create immense switching costs between a company and its suppliers because of the investment of hardware and software necessary to make the system successful. Customer relationship management systems allow companies to learn details about the customers that give them the competitive advantage over traditional competitors and new market entrants. Implementing these competitive strategies requires precise coordination of people, technology, and the organization. A company can pursue one or more of these strategies, but cannot isolate any of the three dimensions of an information system. They must all work in concert together to have any hope of success. The four generic strategies for dealing with competitive forces enabled by IT include low-cost leadership, product differentiation, focus on market niche, strengthen customer and supplier intimacy. Many companies have found that effective and efficient information systems allow them to deal with external forces in one of four ways: low-cost leadership, product differentiation, focus on market niche, and strengthen customer and supplier intimacy. Walmart is a good example because of its emphasis on low-cost leadership. Low-cost leadership. By using information systems to lower your operational costs, you can lower your prices. That will make it difficult for traditional competitors and new market entrants to match your prices. This strategy works best with commodities such as computers or with household products, retailers like Walmart. Product differentiation. Very effective use of strategic information systems is to create products or services that are so different that they create barriers for the competition. Product differentiation is at the heart of Apple Computer's success. Sure, it makes computers, but the company gets away with charging a premium price because it differentiates its products from all others. Competitors like Hewlett-Packard and IBM have tried to duplicate Apple's strategic business model, but have not been quite as successful. Do you believe it is possible both to design information systems that focus both on low-cost leadership and product differentiation? Some may say it is very sufficient planning and innovation. Perhaps a new product is even cheaper to produce than old ones. Some may say that investment in innovation required for product differentiation precludes that firm from maintaining low-cost leadership. If an organization is in a fiercely competitive market, it can choose to focus on a very narrow segment of the market rather than a broad general audience. A firm can gather very specific information about its customers using data mining techniques. Then it creates a focused differentiation business strategy to market directly to those consumers. Being able to address the needs and wants of a very small market segment is why companies are so intent on gathering consumer information from a variety of sources. Apple Computer uses focused differentiation to help sell its computers to a narrow target market of graphic designers and educators rather than the general population of computer users. Supply chain management systems increase supplier intimacy, while customer relationship management systems increase customer intimacy. SCM, supply chain management, systems create immense switching costs between a company and its suppliers. Because of the investment of hardware and software necessary to make the system successful, customer relationship management systems allow companies to learn about customers that give them the competitive advantage over traditional competitors and new market entrants. Can you think of any examples from your own experience of companies that exemplify strong focus on market niche as well as excellent customer and supplier intimacy? Try to think of one industry that has not been touched by the internet. Its impact on Porter's competitive force model is apparent from entertainment to retail to travel to financial services. The internet allows traditional competitors to introduce new products and services and lure customers away. It provides a low-cost avenue for new market entrants. Consumers can easily and quickly find substitute products and services through the internet. Customers can use information provided on the internet to create new competition between companies, while suppliers can increase their market power. Table 3.5 of the text summarizes the impact of internet is having on many industries. Do you believe it is easier or harder to gain a competitive advantage via the internet as opposed to a more traditional means? Be better than the competition. That's the mantra of the most companies that are serious about winning the game. areas of the organization most affected by leveraging technology are in producing the product, getting it to the stores, and making the customer happy. How does the value chain model differ from the Porter model? One example is it offers more specific detail about what exactly to do to achieve competitive advantages. How do primary activities differ from support activities? Remember the Worldwide Candy Corporation from Chapter 2? Think of all the activities that go into getting the Cybernuts candy bar made, from procuring raw materials to actual production. Then consider how the candy bar gets from the factory to the store shelves. And what about all those commercials you see? These are primary activities. Just as important are support activities. These include human resources, accounting, and finance. These functions support the primary functions of production, shipping, and sales and marketing. The value chain model shown will help an organization focus on these activities and determine where to focus their efforts the most.
Material Handling Equipment Corporation has been in business for over 50 years. We're an equipment dealer for cranes and hoist and fork trucks. We primarily service and sell. The biggest problem we encounter is we're in a commodity business and the market's shrinking. The bigger boys are coming in and taking a bigger piece of the market share, and we need to find a better way to compete. We need to find a way that will differentiate us from everybody else. We spent roughly 14 months evaluating all other applications that were out there and had no luck at all. Contacted a business partner in Cincinnati. They suggested SAP. I said, "You're crazy. Too much money, that's for the big boys." They introduced me to SAP Business One, and it was a perfect fit. The entry point was perfect from a cost perspective, and then with what it allowed us to do from an operating perspective was even greater. What made SAP Business One perfect for us was that it was scalable, it was configurable, and it was easy for us to implement and easy for us to teach to our employees. With the old systems, we had very little visibility. We were like a ship at sea without a compass. When we brought Business One on, it was like we were blind and now we can see. We have visibility into our financials. We can better manage our cash, manage our assets, better manage our inventories that we couldn't do before. We have planning and forecasting and reporting tools that didn't exist in the old systems. SAP Business One has given us some competitive advantage from the perspective of asset management. We've taken the tools that we've integrated with B1 and we've provided them to our customer. Our customer can come back through portals and now look at those assets and begin to better understand their costs associated with managing those assets. It's a tremendous tool for us, and it's what drives our business forward. Selling the commodity is not what makes us the money. It's servicing and selling the parts that does. And by providing this type of a resource to our customer, it gives us a competitive edge. SAP Business One gives us a beautiful advantage in the marketplace today. With the access of a portal, our customers can come in and look at their assets that we're currently servicing. For example, if we're servicing a fork truck for them, they can look in the system and look at all the costs that's associated with that service work. It's exciting because at each and every turn we see a new revenue opportunity for us that didn't exist in the past. We just sold the trucks. Now we're selling, asset management that we never thought of in the past. We're beginning to compete in a different way, and that's what excites us more than anything else. With SAP Business One, we've realized a 30% reduction in operating cost in the area of about a 12% increase in revenues, and our margins are getting better. We have a position out there that nobody else has at this point in time. We're using technologies in our industry that people can only dream of to this point. When we look at the horizon, it's extremely bright. The tools and the resources that SAP provides, I can function and act like a Fortune 500 with the expense of a small-sized business. It's magnificent.
After viewing that video, here's some questions that you could pose to yourself and answer. What were the business problems facing the Material Handling Equipment Corporation? How do they relate to its existing older systems? What were the advantages of working with SAP's Business One? Why did the new ERP system give the company a competitive advantage? What was the impact of the ERP system on corporate costs and revenues? And what new revenue generating service was Material Handling Equipment Corporation able to provide to its customers? Why did MHE develop a customer portal? One of the interesting things to note about this particular video was how both SAP and Material Handling Equipment were able to adapt to each other's needs. SAP is notorious for developing huge systems, and as the gentleman on the video mentioned, that they thought they were going to be way overpriced for what they needed. However, SAP had a solution that they were able to adapt for smaller companies. So smaller companies can take advantage of many of the features of the SAP ERP system. More and more companies are incorporating the internet into their business strategies through the use of value webs. Ford Motor Company is forming many partnerships and alliances via the web to offer services and products that otherwise would be too difficult, costly, or time-consuming. Ford is using value webs to connect with suppliers and business partners and share best practices so that each participant can improve its business processes. That in turn lowers supply costs for Ford to ensure certain level of standardization through manufacturing process. Suppliers can collaborate with each other via the value web to enhance their core competencies and improve the entire supply chain. Sharing information through the value web helps not just Ford but the entire vehicle manufacturing industry. Value web extends beyond the boundaries of an individual firm and represents the coordination of value chains across multiple independent firms. A value web is flexible and adapts to changes in supply and demand and changing market conditions. Why is a model like the one displayed in this figure more likely to adapt quickly to changes in supply and demand? The networking between the different segments of the value web Very seldom will you find a business that provides all of its own services, supplies, and processes throughout the entire chain. It isn't practical or even efficient to do so. Almost every business relies on partnerships with the other companies to produce goods and services. The most successful companies will determine the best synergies, core competencies, and network-based strategies to reduce costs, improve products and services, and increase profits. Information technology's role in promoting synergy is often tying together operations of disparate business units so that they can act as a whole. So a question to ask would be, why might this lead to reduced costs or increased efficiency? Why did Ford Motor Company form an alliance with UPS instead of continuing its long-term practice of delivering vehicles to dealers itself? Because Ford wanted to concentrate on its core competency of manufacturing vehicles and let UPS concentrate on its core competency of delivering products. Can you name any other notable examples of core competencies among firms? Maybe a good example would be Google and their search, Microsoft, their Office productivity software, and Intel processors, and so on. So core competencies really are the activities from which a firm is a world-class leader in. It relies on the knowledge, experience, and sharing of this across business units. Examples of firms that use this type of strategy to achieve an advantage are eBay and iVillage. Many other companies are following suit in using a network-based strategy. Can you name any? How about eBay, iVillage, and social networking firms such as Facebook, which are based on networks of millions of users? These companies have used the web and internet communication tools to build communities. The more people who join these communities, the more benefit members receive. It's long been known in the economic field that economics of manufacturing produces a diminishing returns on investment at some point in time. But in network economics, the opposite is true. For example, you have a small company with 15 employees operating on a client-server network. You're already paid for the server that supports 25 employees. When you hire the 16th employee, you won't have to spend much money. if any, to support the new employee on the network. You're actually increasing the server's output without any associated increase in cost. Technology makes a virtual company more feasible, cheaper, and easier to set up and tear down than before. Let's say you own a small business company in northern Arizona, and it offers whitewater rafting trips through the Grand Canyon. You have a fleet of rafts and have 35 full-time employees. Rather than you trying to manage the payroll and benefits program for your employees, you could use a company that specializes in payroll, employee benefit programs, and even retirement plans. Intuit, who manufactures Quicken and QuickBooks, provides an online service for businesses that does all of these things. You access Intuit's website, enter the necessary data, and it takes care of the rest of the processes, even down to filing the government tax forms. You concentrate on your rafting business instead. Virtual company strategies. The virtual company networks to allow. Can you see the similarities between the ecosystem and value webs? Can you appreciate the key differences that business ecosystems extend across industry as opposed to just firms within the same industry? Industry sets of firms providing related services and products comprise the business ecosystem. Good examples: Microsoft Platform is used by thousands of firms. Walmart's order entry and inventory management system. Keystone firms are defined as those that dominate the ecosystem and create a platform used by other firms. Niche firms rely on platforms developed on Keystone or by Keystone firms. Individual firms can consider how IT will help them become profitable niche players in the larger ecosystem. Sustaining competitive advantages. Competitors can relate and copy strategic systems. Systems may become tools for survival. In aligning ITs with business objectives, performing strategic systems analysis develops the structure of the industry and firm value chains. The importance and difficulty of aligning information technology with the business. What does this phrase mean? It seems pretty simple. Why do so many companies fail at this critical task? Can you think of any other important questions that management should ask about the company before designing their IT system? What is a solution for the fact that many competitive advantages can be copied? The fact highlights the importance of continuous innovation in order to stay ahead. If you have any questions regarding this presentation, please do not hesitate contacting me at my USD email or submit a question to the instructor discussion thread. Thank you for attending the discussion on Chapter 3.